Welcome back everyone, this is History with Hilbert here today, and today I'm going to be talking about the League of Nations and the UN. Are they the same? Are they different? What's the whole story behind it? After the shambles that was World War One, the nations of the world got together and decided that blowing each other to bits with high-powered 20th century technology maybe wasn't the best idea. So they formed what was called the League of Nations. Now lots of these nations, whose pretty flags I've been putting on the screen in front of you here, decided to join up in 1920, and the League of Nations was formed after the Paris Conference, which was signed on the 10th of January. Now after this date, the 1920, lots of other nations also joined, but these were the founding members. Take a good look at those flags, because lots of those countries don't exist anymore. But don't worry, this one still does. The goal of the League of Nations was to stop another huge war like the one that had just been fought in Europe, Africa and parts of Asia happening once again. And they actually intervened in diverse places such as Peru, Lithuania, China and Iraq, among others, with varying levels of success. However, there were many issues with the League of Nations, one of the largest being that the United States didn't join. And this was kind of a big issue when they were a huge peacekeeping force, and the United States was an important player on the world stage. Now, they obviously failed in their task because after World War One, just about 30 years after World War One, you get the Second World War, the rise of Adolf Hitler, and Nazi Germany taking over most of continental Europe. So they didn't really do too well. However, after the Second World War was fought, they did actually come up with another plan. And at the Tehran Conference in 1943, the world leaders decided to give another peacekeeping force, a global peacekeeping community, another chance. And after the end of the Second World War in 1945, they founded the United Nations. And as you can see from the flag, it's a globe with a nice wreath and the countries from the top of the world. I don't know why I'm explaining that, it's pretty obvious, but that's what the flag is, because it's the United Nations of the world. Yeah. Every country on the planet, apart from Palestine, Vatican City, Taiwan and Kosovo, are part of the United Nations. Now Palestine isn't on there because it's a very much disputed country, as is Kosovo. Vatican City, I think it's religious reasons why they're not part of the United Nations, and also they're barely a nation. I mean, it's one of the smallest in the world, if not the smallest. And Taiwan left after the Democratic People's Republic of China was added, which is essentially what we just call China. When that was added, Taiwan decided to leave. Now, what do the United Nations do? A bit similar to what the League of Nations did, and they essentially go around with their own peacekeeping force and try to keep two sides of conflicts apart for the best that they could. Now, during the Cold War, this was interesting because, of course, you had the Americans and the West, and then the Soviets and the East. And they tried to keep out of the Cold War, and they did a pretty good job of keeping out of the Cold War. They did actually back the US invasion of the Korean Peninsula during the Korean War, but that was because of North Korean aggression and things like that. And today they still do it in the nice blue helmets. They go around the world with their peacekeeping force. They have their own troops, which is something that the League of Nations didn't have, which significantly weakened it. The League of Nations relied solely on the successful nations in the First World War, so the Americans, the British, the French, the Belgians, the Italians, etc., to do their fighting for them. But the United Nations has loads of countries in the world, pretty much all of them, and they can get stuff done most of the time, hopefully. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. This has just been a quick video about the two, because yes, I did confuse them in a previous video, but they're essentially the same thing, the same goals, just one of them's before the Second World War and the other one's after the Second World War. So that's all I've got time for today. Now, I do need to make an update video at some point in the near future, but I will make that when that needs to be done. And do tune in again, because I've got a range of different videos coming, one or two in different languages as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And don't forget to have a look at some of the other ones that I've put on. So thank you very much for watching. I'm obviously History with Hilbert, and I hope you'll tune in again next time for some more History with Hilbert. So see you later.